The burning night, I asked, looking up at the flyer. The burning night, Jacob said, sounding excited. Uh-huh, I said, looking over the flyer with a critical eye. So, it's a bonfire night, or something? Something like that, he agreed. We all get together and drink and celebrate the onset of fall. Right, and why wasn't I invited last year? Jacob looked thoughtful. Well, we usually don't invite the junior rangers. They normally have to work the night after the burning night, but now you're good to go, so, you're going, right? I thought about it. I wasn't a huge drinker, but I did like the sound of it. It sounded fun. I could hang out and meet some of the other rangers from the spots that I hadn't seen yet, and just kind of chill for a while. I told Jacob I was in, and he slapped me 5 before heading back to work. I probably should have mentioned, but I was recently promoted from junior ranger to full-fledged ranger. I've been working in the park for nearly 2 years now, and it was nice to finally be recognized for that work. Jacob had said they would normally throw me a party, but since it was so close to burning night, they were going to mix the two. That made me feel like I had to be there, so I figured I'd go have some fun and maybe feel involved in park politics for a change. Lucky, Carol said when I told her. I wish I was allowed to go. I laughed. Well, maybe they'll promote you after your probationary period, too. I don't think I've ever actually explained who my coworkers are. I'm from Post 4, located on the western end of the park. Each post has a central post that's labeled Logistics, and each central post has 4 smaller posts under it. There are 4 central posts in the whole park, and each post has 6 or 7 people who work at them. Most of those people are junior rangers, and it's rare to have more than 3 rangers at a post. Post 4 is home to me, Jacob, our senior ranger, Carol, who works overnight, Daryl, who works when I'm off, Roger, who works when Jacob is off, and Cindy, who works when Carol is off. In a way, we have 2 shifts, but we all have to answer to Head Ranger Gavin when the crap hits the fan. So we usually stick pretty close together. Daryl, Cindy, and Carol are all junior rangers, while Roger, Jacob, and I are full-fledged rangers. Some of you have wondered if I work 7 days a week, so hopefully that helps a little in scheduling and logistics. So, Saturday night at about 6:30, I showed up with a 12-pack of beer and a cheesecake that I'd made from scratch. I felt a little surprised that I'd made it at all. I had expected that this would be held at a campground or at least a picnic area. Jacob's flyer had led me to what I could nicely call an access road, where I had to walk for about a mile into the darkening woods. There was a mess of cars parked at the end of the road, and as I pulled up, I saw a young woman that I vaguely knew getting out of a car with a box of wine under one arm and a bag of chips in her hand. I thought her name might be Gabby or Gladys, and when she saw me and waved, I was embarrassed to realize that she knew my name, even though I didn't know hers. "I'm Grace. Nice to meet you." "Grace, okay, well, I'd been way off. I'm glad someone else showed up right about now. The woods are a little spooky at night sometimes. Care to walk with a girl?" I told her I would, and we headed off into the woods to see what this whole burning night thing was about. "First time?" I asked, as the crickets tuned up and the ghost of a party got louder all around us. "Nope," she said, "but it's only my 2nd time. I just got promoted last year. How about you?" "Yup, this is my first burning night." "Any advice?" "Yeah, don't let Kevin mix your drinks. He tends to be a little heavy with the tequila." I laughed, not sure who Kevin was either. "What's it all for, anyway?" Jacob really wouldn't give me many details. Grace got a weird look as she stared up the path, and I didn't think she was going to answer me for a minute. "It's about renewal, about the changing seasons, and about protecting ourselves from what's out there. At least that's what Marcus told me last year." "Protecting ourselves?" I asked. not sure what she meant. I started to scoff, but then I remembered all the weird stuff I'd encountered out here and thought better of it. She smiled. "You must be lucky if you don't think we need protecting. They told me I'd seen some weird stuff out there, but some of it's been downright terrifying. You're from Post 4, right? You know, they call that the spooky post. We all see our fair amount of stuff, but they say Post 4 gets the worst of it. The place we're heading to is certainly a spot that's figured into a few spooky tales." "What do you mean?" I asked, as the party and the music started to get louder. "This is the place where all those people went missing about 5 years ago. Some kind of cult or something was camping out here, and they accidentally got the attention of something bad. It drew a lot of them into the woods, and they say that some of them were never seen again. It's a spooky place. I remember feeling like I was being watched last year, and it's not some place I'd want to spend the night if I could help it." I wanted to ask her more, but we came out of a clearing where the party was in full swing. Someone had set up a folding table with snacks and drinks. There was another table with alcoholic beverages, and several other people were playing beer pong on another table, or various card games at another. It was pretty wild. People were dancing to music or just standing around drinking, and I got the feeling that a few of them had been here for hours. The poster had said that it started at 5, but I guess they'd been pre-gaming as they set up. Jacob walked over, clearly intoxicated, and handed me a bottle of something that smelled like rubbing alcohol. "Finally! Here, you gotta catch up. The bonfire starts at sunset. You don't want to be sober for that, I can assure you." I asked him what he meant, but he waved at someone and wandered off about that time. I don't know how I had missed it on the way in, but as I took a sip of the maybe rubbing alcohol, I caught sight of the effigy. It was a giant wicker deer that looked like it had been made out of bone in certain places. It was easily 7 feet tall, and I can't imagine how long it must have taken them to make it. It was standing, and it was made from a bunch of loose brush and bits of wire. Its intention seemed pretty clear. Like any good effigy, there was going to be a fire, and they were going to light this thing up, though I still wasn't quite sure why. I remembered that Grace had said it was to ward off spirits, and wondered if I had really signed up for a park service or if I'd actually joined some kind of cult. I hung out for a little while, and Grace had been right about the place. As night descended, it became more and more creepy. I know how that sounds, but it's true. The whole place just seemed a little darker than it should have. Outside the perimeter of the fire, it was like anything could exist out there, and it almost felt like those flames were keeping something awful at bay. It was still warm, fall nowhere close to coming, but it was hard to keep the chill off of my bones as it ran up them. When someone put their hand on my shoulder, I felt like I might be about to shake right out of my skin. I turned and found Grace standing behind me, but clearly she had been enjoying herself a little too much. She was swaying a lot, talking much too loudly, and I think she was wearing more of her drink than might be going into her. "Great party," she said, smiling at me like we were in on some private joke. "How are you enjoying yourself?" "Fine, I guess. It's pretty creepy out here. You weren't wrong." She smiled toothily. "Just wait till the bonfire starts." I wouldn't have long to wait. Dark was approaching quickly, and as the shadows lengthened outside of our little campsite, I heard someone tap the outside of their glass. I turned and found, to my surprise, that it was Head Ranger Gavin. When did he get here? I didn't know, but he had arrived and seemed the soberest of all of us. He looked out amidst the group, and instead of being upset that we were all drunk in the woods, He seemed pretty happy to see us all enjoying ourselves. He said something quietly to one of the other rangers, and he handed him a torch, which he held up beside the effigy. My friends, another year has come to an end. As we go into the next fiscal year for our beloved park, it's time we make our sacrifice. So, raise your glasses as I raise this torch, and let us hope we can stave off the darkness for another year. Another year, they all intoned. It was weird, like they'd practiced or something. Head Ranger Gavin took the torch and tossed it onto the deer, made out of sticks and bones, and as it took fire, something strange happened. It burned quickly. Most of the components were flammable, but as it burned, I heard something let out a screech in the woods beyond. It was like something had slit the throat of a monster deer, and as it burned to ash, I could hear things moving out in the woods. They sounded large. Most of them sounded more like animals than spirits. They were angry about what we were doing, and they were making their anger well known. They threw themselves against the trees around the campsite, shaking the limbs and wrestling the leaves on the ground. But they seemed unable to approach. Whatever this was, it kept them at bay, and I was very glad for it. I felt someone move up beside me and looked down to find it was Grace. She reached out and took my hand, but instead of looking at the effigy, she was looking at me. She seemed to be judging how I was taking all this, and I had to admit I wasn't taking it very well. I'd seen a lot of odd things in the park, most of which I've told you about, but this just seemed primal, not altogether human. We were no better than cavemen trying to please our forest gods so they didn't gobble us up in the middle of the night. I suppose, if I thought too hard about it, that's what we were doing. As it burned, and the thing in the woods tried to get us, my coworkers laughed and whooped like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. They threw their hands up and cheered, beating their chests and laughing as the creature in the woods seemed stopped by whatever strange magic we had made here. That's when I realized that they all knew in some form or another. They had expected this to happen, and now it was just another completion of another old ritual. Would you take me home? Grace asked. Are you sure? I asked, not sure that any of us should venture out into those woods right now. Oh, yes. After this whole thing, nothing ever really comes after us in the woods. That's what this is all about, you know? Keeping us safe. I think I'm a little too drunk to drive home, but I don't think I want to stay out in the woods either. Like I said, it's just so creepy out here, after all's said and done. So we walked back to my car, and sure enough, nothing came out to bother us. Grace leaned against me as I went and gave me a pretty coherent set of instructions on how to get to her house. To those of you who are wondering, I did not take advantage of a drunk woman, so don't worry. I helped her inside, got her on the couch, and then locked up behind myself as I left. Say what you will about me, but I'm a gentleman, and I'm not going to take advantage of someone who's too inebriated to tell me yes or no. Then I drove home myself, probably soberer than any person had any right to be after what I'd seen. The longer I work at the park, the more strange things it seems I witness, but it doesn't make me want to stop working there. I love the park, I love the forest, and I don't think any amount of weirdness is ever going to change that. My mother always said that when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and I think a lot about that as I come back to work every day at the park. The woods are old, and old things have a right to be strange. so I'll just keep right on exploring them and see how weird it can get. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.